This is Nan McKay, and I would like to introduce you today to Beverley Glazer. In today's episode, we are joined by Beverley, a seasoned therapist, internationally certified addiction counselor, and the visionary founder of Reinvent Impossible Inc. With a storied career extending over 30 years, Beverley has transformed lives with her unique blend of scientific knowledge and grounded wisdom. She's the creator of the Reinvention Formula, a groundbreaking coaching system that equips older women, especially those navigating significant life transitions, with the tools to rediscover their strengths and carve out new, fulfilling paths. As the voice behind the inspiring podcast, Aging with Purpose and Passion, Beverley echoes the empowering belief that it's never too late to reinvent oneself and pursue newfound dreams. Join us as we explore Beverley's transformative journey and the wealth of insights that she offers for those who are eager to embrace life's possibilities at any stage. So welcome, Beverley.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Nan. Thank you so much.
Beverley, could you start by telling us about the transition from a therapist to founding Reinvent Impossible Inc. and how your past experiences maybe fueled this new venture?
Okay. Well, first of all, what's interesting is it's not a new venture. I started Reinvent Impossible Inc. in 2013. And I was, or still kind of am, because right now you've entered my office. As of COVID, I have given that up. COVID gave me the opportunity to be able to go online full-time and create really my vision, which was Reinvent Impossible, to help many more people throughout the world. And it allowed me to do that because when you're a therapist and you're working in an office, you are exhausted at the end of the day. You are also restricted as to who you can serve and where you can serve these people. And I learned quite a while ago that I was given the opportunity to speak on radio, and I had a radio show for 5 years, which was Get a Life with Beverley Glazer. And that's where you end up being the radio therapist, but you can't really help people. But I've reached so many people through that I got to know me. And of course, I would be able to do therapy one-on-one. Well, Reinvent Impossible is a system which I've put together. It's a reinvention formula. It's not for therapy. Most of us, fortunately, don't need therapy. But I chose to focus on women over 50 because through my career as a therapist, and as you mentioned, I work in addiction. I've worked with really troubled families and people in all circumstances of life. And it doesn't matter, rich or poor or whatever your circumstances are. What I found is women hold it together. We really do. And I may be stereotyping here, but I really am not. I think most women can relate that when something goes wrong, she pulls it through for the family. She makes it work. If something's wrong with him, we get him help. Well, over 50, what happens is there's a wake-up call. And I've noticed that throughout. It's like, okay, I may be over 50, fine, I feel good, I am good, but I lost my job. And my job was really important to me. And maybe it wasn't the family income, it was my identity. But who am I now? or Mr. Wonderful has walked out and it wasn't so great, but you know what? You knew what you had, or you don't have children, whatever the wake-up call is. And some people say, well, my life is just fine. And I've seen a lot of people like that, but something is missing. And they notice it in themselves. Why am I drinking so much? Or why am I eating so much? What's going on there? And so I help women, and that's my focus. And that's what I've been doing primarily since 2023. And you can't take the therapist out of the person. But what you do is you can make this a simplistic process. You do not have to go through the pain in coaching. Unfortunately, yes, you do in therapy, but you don't have to do that. There are simple ways of putting it together, and that's what I've created, a coaching system to get you past where you are right now, all that thinking, all that mess, and get you where you want to be. And then a lot of us don't know where we want to be, but we just know where we are. We're stuck. And that comes after the kids. That comes after the relationships. That comes after all that stuff. So I've pinpointed 50. And yes, but it was a whole old process starting in 2013. Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't know the difference between a therapist counseling and coaching, and they are definitely different. Could you, because you've been on both sides, could you just elaborate on that just a bit?
Yes, sure. In therapy, what you really have to do is people come in pain. What's going on? And you have to get through to the pain. And there's many steps to do it. And it can take years, depending on the model that you go through. So what happens in therapy is there is no end goal. You come and you get what you need and you leave and you come back. And we do have goals. There's stepping stones, but there's no end. In coaching, what I say in therapy, actually, in therapy, the therapist does the work. I'm working to get you where you have to be. In coaching, I give you the tools. And then what happens, and we do have an end, like my programs are generally 3 months. You can continue, you can do other things, but by the end of 3 months, there is a goal, you know where you're going, you get what you need, and you can move on. So it's not about getting into where you have been, you know where you have been. It's let's get rid of that and move on. So it's far more simplistic. And like you said, it takes less out of me and more for the client, because the client has to do the work. And there are tools and there are modules and there are, you know, templates, and they do have access to me for sure, but it's not a painful process. And that's the difference really between therapy, what do I need, how do I get through it, and coaching, this is where I am, how do I get out of it? It's simple.
That was really a good explanation. Can you elaborate on the reinvention formula? Like, what makes it a surprisingly easy coaching system, and how has it really been transforming lives?
Oh, I love that question. Okay. When we are stuck, we're stuck in our heads. And we tell ourselves all kinds of stories now, and I don't have to tell you, they are the worst stories ever. And we get boggled down by those stories, that all that spin, right? So let's say you find a coach and the coach says, oh, well, let's rewrite your story. Or the coach can say, okay, these are irrational beliefs, or you're taking programs to get you out of problems with, you know, my family, or specific problems, resentment issues. I contest that it will not work. And the basis of that is this is all pieces. What it is I look at it, and this is how I've designed the program. It's like if everybody knows it's like psychology 101 pretty well. It's brought into business as well. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is this triangle. And it starts on the basis with your safety needs. If we don't have safety and security needs, how can we rise up? How can we find love in our life? We are so busy with trying to get what we need on a base level. And of course, the tip of the iceberg is literally enlightenment. Well, how can you be enlightened if you're struggling with whatever you're struggling with, right? So how can we just rewrite issues? Simple like that, or take that piecemeal when you don't really believe it. So what goes on in the system is it's much like a triangle, but it's not about needs, it's about us. So it starts on a base level. It's really owning it. I have different levels that end up with creating it. And of course, the it is you. And so it starts with owning it. Who are you? And when you take a look at that, well, people say, well, I'm a doctor, or I'm a lawyer, or I'm a coach, but that is not who you are. That is what you do. Who are you? And why do you do what you do? And, you may say, well, because I always wanted to. Well, what you do is you get right back to that base. I'm a creative. I love, you find yourself, because what happens is society, parents, everyone else has reprogrammed you. So you can say, I'm a CFO of a company. No, you're not. Maybe you're a scared, fragile little girl, and what you want is love and security, or maybe it's an act, whatever it is, you own it. And when you own it, that's so powerful. And you build on that. From owning it, you close the past. And then afterwards, you stop those voices. So you go through, literally, it takes 3 months to do it, to finally say, whoa, I am. And then what happens is you create it. And you will find that you will know exactly what you want to create. Once you free all that garbage, it's like, oh, wow. I am so empowered just being me. Now, will you hold that? Maybe, maybe not. And as you know, with anything else in a triangle, we go up and down. But at least what happens when you go down, you say, that's where I am. And then you can climb back up. And you say, of course I feel that way because, and then you go back. And so what happens is you never go low. You just keep on building yourself from the inside. And I don't know if that's too long an explanation, but I can give you the example you asked for, where I'm thinking of a CEO of a company who came because, she's wonderful. I love all my clients. So she came because things were just falling apart in her life and she couldn't figure out why. And everything sort of was going on right, but not, but everything. And that's, everyone can identify with that. It's like, I don't get it. But what she realized for her is she was drinking too much. She was in relationships with people she didn't want to be in relationships with, but she thought that they were terrific. It was just kind of scrambled. And so what it is that was her wake-up call. Like, why am I doing this? When she did have a divorce, she was perfectly happy. Her friends, so her friends thought, and so she would think. She had all the money. She could do whatever she wanted. And yet, whatever, what she wanted to do was change her job. She was upset with her family. You're looking all on the outside. And when she looked on the inside, she literally, of course, she did not like her job. It was really male dominant, and she was really under pressure with that. But she loved being the CEO, and she knew where her strong suits were, and she was able to find another position. And she also learned to deal with her family. Everything came in a flow, Nan. Because once she owned who she really was, which was not the person that her mother intended her to be, but the person that she had become. You own the pieces you want. You find your strengths and they're yours. And yes, she changed her job. You cherry pick what really matters to you, and your life opens up. And so does your career, and so does your love life and relationship and everything else you want, because you will get it because you feel you deserve it. It's about feeling, not about knowing. That's what it's about.
In your experience, what are some of the common challenges that older women face during significant life transitions? And how does your approach help them navigate through those challenges?
Okay. The biggest challenge, Nan, is I'm too old. It's like the best years are over. Resentment, you laugh. We both laugh, right? But that's the feeling, okay? The feeling is you're looking at your children and life with another lens, and you say, I've been there and my time is up. And so that is the biggest challenge, to get that out of your head, but to understand that that's all pre-programming, that we are the first generation that's stepping up to the plate. We can live to over 100 years old today. They replace body parts like they change wheels of cars. I mean, we keep on going. So it's the mental attitude, and it's only about mental attitude. We feel we're not pretty enough, our time has come. This is all from past generations. And we've bought into that story. And I think we really have to rewrite another story for our generation.
I do too, because it's not that life is over, it's just beginning a different chapter. It's different, exactly. But it's really almost more interesting sometimes than the past, because you don't have to deal with so many of those tasks and chores that you had to do as a woman when you had the kids and you were taking care of everybody.
Right. But it's to get your head around that thinking.
Yeah.
And you don't get the support from the other women around you. That's also a thing. People can be saying, like, what do you need to do? Why are you doing what you do? What do you need to do? Right? The point is, not everybody has to work like we are, but everybody needs a purpose. And that's what an older woman has to see. Your purpose, you can love your grandchildren, and believe me, I love mine, but I cannot, and nobody should, live through other people. Other people should not be your purpose. Your job should not be your purpose. You have to have an internal purpose. I'm doing this for something larger. And you have to be able to feel that you are worth it. It's not getting up to go to a job, or not getting up because, hey, there's no reason. It's a purpose. And that's where all older women, men too, I might add, can lose their purpose after a job. But there we go. I'm stereotyping again. A woman will also push them out. I know many a woman who continues to work and finds a retirement coach for their man, because I don't want him just sitting watching TV. So that is what reinvention is.
Your podcast sounds much like your podcast, because your podcast is Aging with Purpose and Passion.
Totally.
And that resonates deeply with many, as you've said. Can you share the inspiration behind starting this podcast and some of the most maybe profound stories or insights that have been shared on the platform?
Oh, I'd love to, because every single story, Nan, has so much inspiration behind it. And the reason I did this podcast is to inspire other women with those stories, because these are ordinary women, just like you, just like me, it's not when we're looking to celebrities and say, you know, this was their lot in life and wow, they had everything. No. And what it is you're listening to other people's stories and how they reinvented themselves. And it's not easy, but everyone has motivation and everyone is determined, and somehow you push through. And I'm thinking of the story on my podcast that exemplifies that. This was a woman. She was a CEO during the dot-com era. Can you remember Silicon Valley, right? This woman was flying. She was in her 30s. She was all over the world. They had homes in California. That, you know, and you're young. You think the bubble will never burst. Well, she decided, okay, I have more than enough money. Life is amazing. I have homes, etc. But I don't really see my little kids. They're being taken care of by my mom. So I think I'm going to move. And where I'm going to move to Oregon. I'm going to buy another business. And she bought a huge lot and built an extravagant home and bought a business in Oregon. And she and her husband moved, and her husband said, oh no, you know, you're leaving our wonderful life in California. Got it? Yeah. What happened was, as we know, the bubble burst. And the company that she bought, although she really did due diligence, and it was a shell company. And yeah, and she had moved her family. She did everything. She had lost her homes. The housing market went, as you know, what happened with the mortgages in the US, all that tanked. She lost her homes. She put in $1 million into this startup. She said, or to this shell company, she says, okay, I could turn this around, because hey, I'm a CEO, I can do this. Well, what happened was she could not. And she ended up selling her properties, buying a small place, her mom moving in with her. Fortunately, she'd moved her mom, but it was bad. And then came a divorce, and her husband went back to California. This is all on the podcast. It's amazing. Then what happens is she didn't know what to do. I need to work. And she finds herself in some small town in Oregon. And she figured, okay, I can work in a bank. She goes to the bank. She lasts only a short time. She can't work in a bank. She's the CEO. Okay. She can't take orders. She tried 3 more jobs, Nan. She was fired every time. All she wanted to do, poor thing, was work, right? So she was looking for a job. What did she do? There was a job opening on an Indian reserve that was there. And so she went on this reserve, and she was working in the office, and there wasn't too much money that she could get, but at least she was getting some kind of work, and there was a paycheck. And she always believed that if somebody's going to be giving me money, regardless of how much, it must be worth something. So she was doing her job, and she realized, well, you know, that they were needing problems with their health. The elders were having difficulty with the, you know, navigating the system. They really didn't understand. So she was helping with that. And then she got another job. She ended up being a bingo caller on the reserve, if you could imagine. Okay. And she became a bingo caller. And now she's working in the office as a bingo caller as well. And she got fired from the reserve. And she was sitting there wondering, what am I going to do with my life? And when she was doing that, she got a call from nowhere. And this man said, you know, I want to talk to you. I need help, and I will pay you to help me navigate the system, the medical system. And so what she did was she was helping him, and he paid her. And then she started helping other people. And because she's a CEO, she realized that older people need help navigating the system. And she was writing reports and goodness knows what. And she became involved in with the governor of Oregon to present different programs to help people negotiate the system. She now has more than one company. She has quite a few. She's the CEO again, helping people, there are people now within her company. She doesn't do it alone, to help people navigate the system, to do the paperwork, to get them what they need. And if that's not an incredible story, there are so many incredible stories. But when you think about that, when you think about how devastated she must have been and how many falls, and she's married. Okay. She found the love of her life also. He happens to be an Indigenous person. And her life has never changed. It was really good. I mean, it's changed big time. But she, as far as her children are concerned, she even says on the podcast that they say, we had a wonderful life, Mom. We want to be just like you. Can you imagine?
That's really nice. As someone who's been an empowering force for older women, what advice would you give to our listeners who might be feeling stuck or powerless in their current life situations?
I'd go right back to that reinvention formula. There is no such thing as can't. You can. You are not stuck. There always is a way. And if you think of that woman that fell from grace, literally with the .com era, to being a bingo caller, okay, there is always a way. But what you do is you just keep going and you will find a way. If you give up, you've lost it. But if you say, I'm stuck, there's always a way. You can reach out. And when you reach out, if this person doesn't work, or that person gives you the wrong advice, or whatever it is, find what's in your heart. That starts from the very beginning. Own it. What do you really believe? Do you believe there is absolutely nothing? You're totally stuck? If you do, you will stay stuck. But usually when you have that perception, there's a little glimmer, there's a little spark that says, no, there's a maybe. And if you have that maybe, there is a way. So just keep on going, push through, keep pushing through, and find people. They were out there. The internet is a vast place. And one more thing, do not listen to the naysayers. You'll always find those, okay? Always. Follow your heart.
That's really interesting. Well, finally, as we look forward, what are some exciting developments or upcoming projects that listeners can anticipate from Reinvent Impossible?
Well, first of all, I always give free workshops. So there will be a free workshop coming up. And, as I was telling you before, my new website is going to be up. It's all going to be on there. But I'm thrilled with technology, as you know. And I'm going to have a free mini course, which is going to be on there, which people are going to be able to get. And it's gamified. So I love fun. When we're thinking of being stuck, when we're thinking of being miserable, right? You can't keep thinking like that. You have to expand your mind. The only way you could do it is to have fun. Even when you think bingo, right? You're getting out of your head with bingo. It's ridiculous, but you can do it. And there's people around you. So what gamification is, what this little thing is, it's really you're taking to find your purpose for women over 50. And it just expands you. Are you interested in this? Are you interested in that? Where can I go with that? That also is going to be free. But I'm just excited about doing that and doing these offerings, which will all be on my site.
So how can people contact you?
Beverley Glazer at Beverley Glazer or reinventimpossible.com. And the old website is up. Everything will work. The URL will just transfer, so you could always find me. And I do give a free call. It's also on the website. You can talk to me at any time to see where you're stuck. And sometimes that free 15 minutes is all you need. It's like, you get a new idea and away you go with it.
Well, thank you so much, Beverly. I really appreciate you taking your time and then just imparting all of your knowledge and your experience to other people, because I know there's many people out there that are stuck, and this will really, I think, help them open up their life to say what else is out there. It's not impossible.
No, it's not. Thank you so much, Nat.
Thank you.